Well, good morning, Teddy. Good morning. Hey, I'm going to start with a verse, and then I guess we'll catch up for what we've been doing the last few weeks. But as for you, ye thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good. We've been going through Joseph, the story of Joseph. I told Teddy, I said Joseph ought to have his own book because they so much, it's Jacob and Joseph. But we've went through Joseph's coat of many colors that his daddy gave him or made him. I think somewhere it said he made it for him. But anyways, he was his favorite young'un because he was Rachel's firstborn, and his brothers was jealous, and so they sold him into Egypt, and they thought that he would be took care of because I've read study notes that says the slaves in Egypt worked so hard that they didn't live long. They worked them so hard they didn't live long. So these brothers never thought they was going to see Joseph again. They thought, if he was just going to live the rest of his life or die as a slave. And then, of course, Joseph, Potiphar's wife accused him of something that he didn't do. So they put him in jail, but he was running the prison for long. And a couple prisoners in there had some dreams, and Joseph interpreted them through God. And then Pharaoh had a dream, and Joseph interpreted that. And we went through up to, I think, the 7 good years, ain't it? Where he's gathering the corn of plenty and the wheat and whatever it was, actually. And so now Joseph's about to have some young'uns. But I want to read just a couple things before. We're going to start with chapter 41 and verse 50. But I just got some things that I didn't get to say last time, going back into what we've done. And I love this, and I want to really emphasize this. Joseph praised the power of God, the living God, in the pagan court of Pharaoh. He praised the living God, and like I said before, Pharaoh was considered a king his own self. He could have been killed for that. And also, when Joseph told a bad report on the sons of Bilhah, since he in general demonstrated his integrity, he was not slandering his brothers, but accurately reporting some negligence on their part. And this is just my opinion. I didn't read this in a studied Bible or nothing. But I got to thinking about how sometimes brothers and sisters, if you tell, they might say, I'm going to tell Mommy you done that. And, they might say, well, you go ahead and tell on me and I'll tell what you done. And then somebody might not tell on you. I don't think these boys had nothing bad on Joseph. They couldn't blackmail him. Just like Daniel. They said if you do anything against him, you'll have to use, his God or how he prays. So they didn't have nothing on Joseph, and Joseph did tell, but he wasn't being a tattletale or being mean. He was really trying to help. And just like some pastors won't preach on certain sins because maybe they're committing them, maybe their wife, maybe their children, maybe, some pastors won't call out certain things because somebody might know something on them. Now, I ain't talking about the past when somebody's a sinner. So anyways, Joseph was a good boy, and when he went into that prison, he asked them prisoners, he said, why you look so sad today? And I know Matthew Henry said we ought to see people's countenance and ask them, why are you sad? And we should even look at ourselves. Why are you sad today? Is there reason for it? Is there good reason for it? Why art thou cast down, O my soul? So anyways, now I guess we will get into chapter 41, verse 50, and I'm going to let Teddy read that.
And I like what she was saying there about Joseph, and I may have already said this, but I think our duty as a Christian and a servant of the Most High God is to think what we can do or say in our actions to make somebody else feel good, feel better. Not lie to them.
Right. No.
Not like that, but how can we see if somebody's countenance, if you can look on somebody's face and tell they're not having a good day or a good time or going, you know what I'd like? I would like for people to do me like that. So there we can go back to the scripture. It teaches us, do unto others. And Joseph was that way. He didn't want them to be sad, even though Joseph is now 30 years old. He was about, what, 17
Uh-huh.
when they sold him into Egypt. So in 13 years of his life so far, he's been a slave about 10 or 11 years, and he's been in jail for 2 or 3 years out of that.
If anybody had a reason to have a sad countenance, it was Joseph, but he didn't. He was happy and trying to make other people happy.
Yeah, so I love that. But he's about 30 now, and we're going to start here. And it sounds like Dolly had she knew what she was talking about on that blackmail. She had a sister and 2 brothers growing up, so that sounds like somebody, you can take that one.
Well, sometimes there might be times you might have to say, well, I'll just go ahead and tell on my own self because you need told on. So.
That's right. And unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of famine came. And I'm not going to try to name their names here because I don't have to.
Which his wife, Baron,
Yeah.
too.
Some of these words, is we can make them sound good to ourselves, but it might not be exactly right. But Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, and Manasseh means what, Dolly?
It means forget. Well, this one says, God hath made me forget all my toil, all my father's house. Let me see how this one is. I can't even find it. But it's forgetting. It means
Just
forgetting.
to forget.
Yeah.
And who needed to forget? Joseph.
That's right.
And he's been a slave out of these 13 years, been a slave 10, 11 years, and he's been in prison for 2 or 3 of them. It's time to forget, and even how that they done him. And so, if we could take a good point out of this today, it's time for us to forget.
That's true. And I need to learn that lesson. It says here, causing to forget, because God has caused me to forget all the troubles I suffered at the hands of my family. Joseph didn't tell everybody how wrong his brothers had done him. He wasn't still talking about it 13 years later. He didn't even tell. He did say for the baker, I think, to remember him. He said, because I've done nothing to be here, but he didn't tell what now everybody had done him and how everybody done him wrong. And sometimes we definitely never need to talk about it and tell people, how wrong people's done us. And I know sometimes people it's like, oh my goodness. But if you think about it, and especially if you talk about it, you can get mad all over again. But Joseph, he just always done the right thing.
And the name of the second was Ephraim.
Mm-hmm.
For he hath caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction.
Yeah.
If I want to let the Lord do anything for me, even whatever we might have to go through, and we always put too much on that because we always want to be always on top. We always want to be pampered. We always want it the way we want. That's just true. That's the way that we are, our nature, human nature. So there's some things we need to forget.
That's true.
And then in all the other things, our plan and goal is to make sure that what we're doing is fruitful. Fruitful for what? For God, for the building of His kingdom, for somebody else. If we're doing those things, then we're going to be fruitful. Then everything's going to be a lot better for us.
Now, forgetful, I don't mean it's going to be erased from your memory completely. Of course not. That ain't what we're saying. But you won't dwell on it. You won't think about it. So it's letting it go, releasing it, forgiving.
And we're coming into a place now that they've had the 7 years of plenty, which was the dream that he interpreted. And Joseph gathered in. He gathered in for 7 years, more than they could number or count. They couldn't count the tons. They couldn't count the wagon loads. They couldn't count the barns full of all that was brought in these 7 years of plenty. But now, it's over.
I just want to read one more study note from 41 and 45 when Joseph got married. Joseph's marriage to an Egyptian seems out of place. The patriarchs generally avoided marriage to Canaanites, but this was a marriage to a non-Canaanite Gentile, which was less serious. Under the circumstances, it don't seem that Joseph was given much choice. So I just wanted to read that.
And this was way before the law and before a lot of things from right and wrong.
Yeah, because they still, some people ain't supposed to be married today. But anyways.
But it says that the 7 years of bad came, of dearth. Done been through the 7 good years. And the Bible says that It was in all the lands and all the land of Egypt. But they had bread, so people had to come from everywhere. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, Go unto Joseph, what he saith to you, do. So here you've got the Pharaoh, the president. He said, Pharaoh, Joseph took care of it, this far. Go to him. Mm-hmm. And the Bible says the famine was over the face of the whole earth. And Joseph opened up the storehouses and sold unto the Egyptians. And the famine waxed sore in the land of Egypt. So they done sold to them, and it's bad everywhere now. So they know they've got to come to him because it's not working on their own crops. It's not working on their own farm. And it says all countries came into Egypt to Joseph for to buy corn. All countries, because the famine was sore in all lands. And we're going to go on to chapter 42. When Jacob saw there was no corn in Egypt, Jacob said to his sons, Why do you look one upon another? So he's telling all the other boys there, we're going to have to get out of here. We're going to have to get on up there and find us. We heard there's some food to eat there. We're going to have to go buy some. So get on up there that we'll live and don't die. And they went. But it says Benjamin didn't go. His daddy didn't want him to. He's afraid mischief would befall him like that he thought had happened to Joseph.
And that's another point I want to make. Can you imagine the agony that Jacob felt here? I mean, and I've thought, Lord, and he didn't, get mad at God or nothing like that. And not that people's got a right to, but my goodness. And the Lord never told him, hey, Joseph's all right. I'm taking care of things. God didn't tell him that. And I told Teddy one day, I was like, I guess it's a good thing. Jacob would have absolutely searched the world over to find him if he thought he was alive, I think. And then that might have, just messed everything up. So, but that was anguish, I'm sure.
And all the sons of Israel came. Here they are to buy corn among those that came. And it says all, but still he said he wouldn't let, Benjamin go, the baby. And Joseph was the governor over the land. And he it was that sowed to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that, Dolly?
Sounds like a dream, don't it?
And it seems like that's
Sounds
what got
like
it all started.
Come true. Yeah.
Sounds like that's what got the whole thing to where they hated him, they envied him, and hated him. He had the dream, that and the interpretation of that, and they all knew it and understood it quick and well. They was like, we're going to make obeisance to you. We're going to bow down to you. Here you are, just a boy, just a lad. Well, here you find it. All these years later, he's 30 years old, and it says they came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, Whence come ye? And they said, From the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew not him. He knew, there's my brothers, but they didn't recognize Joseph.
Yeah, this study note says, Joseph knowed his brethren. Joseph concealed his identity until he determined whether his brothers would show sorrow for what they had done to him and to his father years ago.
Yeah.
Didn't just do it to Joseph, they done it to their father.
And at this time, when Joseph seen his brothers and knew them, they didn't know Joseph. And because Joseph didn't look the same.
Right. He's an Egyptian now. I think they said they shave all their body hair and their hair on their head and wear wigs. So, yeah, he totally different. And he learned their Egyptian language. So that's what he spoke too.
And Joseph remembered the dreams. Mm-hmm. And he there at his brothers, and he told them, he said, y'all are spies. He said, you've come to see the nakedness of the land. You've come to find out what we've got. You're coming to spy us out. And they told him, said, no, so we've come to buy food. we're in bad shape. And he said, and they said this, to buy food are thy servants come.
Yeah. What they didn't
They don't
wanna
know it's
be.
him, but they said, we're your servant, whoever you are, this man over Egypt. Only one over you is Pharaoh. They said, we are all one man's sons. We are true men. Thy servants are no spies. And he said unto them, Nay, but to see the nakedness of the land are you come. And they said, Thy servants are 12 brethren, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is not. They're talking to the one that they said is not Joseph, but they don't know it. And Joseph said unto them, That is it that I spake unto you, saying, Ye are spies. Hereby you shall be proved by the life of Pharaoh. You shall not go forth hence, except your youngest brother come hither.
Yeah.
He wanted to see his full brother.
Yeah. And the baby, the
And the
baby of
baby.
the whole family.
Yeah.
I want to go back and read one more thing about the names of Joseph's babies. I'm sorry to keep having to go back, but I think this is real good. It says, more important, it's clear from the names given to their two sons that Joseph don't allow his wife's pagan background to influence him away from God. It is, just he named them Hebrew children. He held on to God the whole time. He didn't let the Egyptians, God, or the way that they lived. He didn't let nothing take him away from his God.
Joseph wasn't there to in any way diminish
Right.
the word of God and what God is and right from wrong.
He brung it to
He
him.
was there to bring them to
Yeah.
the worship and understanding of the one true God.
Yes.
Uh,
And I believe he did. I believe she was too.
but he said he couldn't go lest seen the youngest brother. He wanted to see him. He said, Send one of you and let him fetch your brother, and ye shall be kept in prison, that your words may be proved, whether there be any truth in you, or else by the life of Pharaoh, surely ye are spies. And he put them all together in the ward 3 days. And Joseph said to them the third day, This do and live, for I fear God. If you be true men, let one of you be bound in the house of your prison. Go, carry corn for the famine of your houses, but bring your youngest brother unto me. So shall your words be verified, and ye shall not die. And they did so.
The Bible is clear that Joseph never indulges in any resentment against others who had injured him. Joseph's purpose in speaking harshly and accusing his brothers of spying is not motivated by bitterness, but by a desire to covertly discover information regarding the health and well-being of his father Jacob and his younger brother Benjamin. He also is testing their character. Have they changed in how they care for each other? Joseph gives his brothers a glimmer of hope when he tells them he fears God. The name he uses for God is the name of the Hebrews' God, Elohim. The brothers would not have expected this from the seemingly harsh Egyptian prime minister, but there is enough hope of fair treatment in those words to keep them from despairing. And there's another note. Joseph knew his brother. Okay, ye are spies. While Joseph recognizes his brothers and knew that they were not spies, he tested them in order to determine if they had changed in character and had come to a point of remorse over the evil they had done to him and his father.
All of a sudden, when Joseph's through talking to them, they start talking to each other then.
In Hebrew, and they didn't think Joseph knew.
And they say, you know what? Man, this is bad. We brought this on ourselves because of what we done to our brother Joseph. All this is terrible stuff is falling upon us. And then, you got one that speaks up and he says, well, it wasn't my fault.
That's right.
Reuben was telling the truth. He said, I told you not to do it. Don't sin against him, but you did anyway. But now there's a reason we're paying for this.
And it tells about how Joseph he said even though like he cried for them not to do this, it don't tell it when it actually happens, but it talks about how he tried to get them not to.
And they didn't know that Joseph understood
Yeah.
every word they was saying.
This says, we are verily guilty. The brothers were brought to a realization of their guilt for their unmerciful treatment of Joseph 20 years earlier. They saw that God was justly punishing them for their crime. Often when we have concealed sin in our lives, God will work in order to open our conscience to our guilt. We can either harden our hearts or humble ourselves before God, confess our sins, and resolve to act righteously.
And when Joseph was talking to them, he had an interpreter. So, you know,
Yeah. They don't
they
know
had he
no
no
can hear
idea.
or understand their Hebrew.
But it says that he turned from them and wept. And he returned to them again and communed with them and took from them Simeon and bound him before their eyes. Through all this, he just had to get away and cry.
Yeah.
But it's more than cry, he wept.
Uh-huh.
Joseph commanded to fill their sacks with corn and to restore every man's money. You see, they come with money to buy this corn. This corn wasn't to be give away. You don't give stuff away. Now we live in America to where this past year there's been billions, maybe trillions of dollars that has been stopped, that it's just being thrown away and give away for foolishness stuff and for evil. And too long and too many times you give money away, your country's not going to be a country. You're going to be the lowest on the totem pole. So they didn't, Pharaoh didn't put Joseph in this place to give away.
That's right.
He put in his place to add to,
Yep.
to be
To
great,
profit. Yeah.
to profit. But this was his brothers, and they come and they give the money to buy all this, and he told them, said, put it in their sacks, fill it up. He said, but put the money in there too, and send them back down the road. And that's what he did. And they got down the road, and on the way home, and one of them got to looking. Uh-oh, there's the money. It's in the mouth of my sack. Oh, no.
I think we stole it.
You talking about getting scared. They got scared to death all over again. We're in trouble. Now we're going to, they're going to put us in prison or kill us, and we'll never get out. This is bad. And as they looked, each and every one of them realized and figured out, that what had happened to them. And they thought that God was getting them. God was going to take care of what they done 17 years ago. And they come after all this. They made it to Jacob, to their dad, and told him all that had happened. And the man spoke roughly to us and took us for spies. And we told him we are not spies. We're 12 brethren, sons of our father, and one's home with dad and one is not, which is Joseph the whole time. And Joseph understands that. And he said, here's how I can know. He said, leave one of you here, take food back home, and bring your youngest brother to me.
Poor old Jacob.
He said, and here we are, we're in trouble, and we're afraid because all of our money's here too now, so what are we going to do?
This note says Simeon, being the second oldest, would have been the one responsible for their collective wickedness, because Reuben, the firstborn, did try to not get him to do this. So Simeon, as the secondborn, should have put a stop to it, but he didn't. And that might have been why Joseph kept him the longest, or, when they all went home.
And here we've got Jacob talking about the ones there in prison with him, their countenance being sad. Here's Jacob, sad, sorrowful again. He said,
Why?
I got one son gone. He said, now I got another son gone.
Mm-hmm.
Now you left one there, I've done lost another one. I mean, really, we can't imagine. We can't take time to understand the sorrow. And he said, all these things that are against me.
This note says, before his brothers leave, Joseph hides their payment for the grain in their grain sacks. Perhaps this is to test his brothers to see if they could still be bought with money. Joseph wanted to know if they would do to Simeon what they did to him. The brothers panicked because they could be accused of stealing this money. And I don't think you've read it yet, but when they returned home, Jacob's sons shared with their father what happened. Unfortunately, Jacob's response only serves to prolong the return, Simeon's imprisonment, and his reunion with his long-lost son. You know, when he didn't want to send Benjamin, he kept putting it off.
And Reuben spake unto his father. He said, Slay my 2 sons, if I bring him not to thee. Deliver him into my hand, and I will bring him to thee again. And he said, My son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he is left alone. If mischief befall him by the way in which ye go, then shall you bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave. You remember, they let him think it. Joseph must be dead. Some kind of wild beast, some kind of evil beast must have tore him in pieces.
Yep, they let him think it. They didn't correct it.
And the famine was sore in the land, chapter 43. And it came to pass, when they had eaten up the corn which they had brought out of Egypt, their father said unto them, Go again, buy us a little food. Now, I want to say this in just for a second. When I was young, when I was a youngin', and then when I first got saved and I was reading this, it's like, well, they had to go down and get corn, and that's what all they had was corn. Mm-hmm. But corn is so many things. They called everything corn.
Like wheat.
If it could be, wheat, so many different things for bread, so many different things for food. So they just didn't have to live off cream corn all this time. They could make bread and barley and different things of the grains that God gives.
They actually wasn't corn back then, was they? In Israel?
Well, I don't think so. It was just so many. And Judah spake unto him, saying, The man did solemnly protest unto us, saying, You shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. If thou wilt send our brother with us, we will go down and buy the food. But if thou wilt not send him, we will not go down. For the man said unto us, Ye shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. And Israel said, Wherefore dealt ye so ill with me, as to tell the man whether ye had yet a brother? Why would you do me like this?
Mm-hmm. I guess we'll pick this up next week with this part 2, and we're just going to go as long as it takes to tell Joseph's story, because we love it.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.